I've spent most of my career leading groups into the wilderness, all over the world. So you might expect me to tell you how fearless I am, but I'm not. And in fact, right now, I'm terrified, but with good reason. Because the very first time I stood on a stage and gave a presentation, I fell off. Yes, I literally walked off the edge of the stage in front of hundreds of people. Even worse, it's still on YouTube. So today I've got a plan. All I've got to do is stay within this lovely red circle. And as well as having a plan, I brought some skills. Skills that I've developed doing my day job, adventuring. Skills that help me to bounce back from such catastrophic failure. And skills that help me, although to feel the fear, but to carry on anyway, if it's the right thing to do. So I'm not feeling comfortable on this stage today, but I've gotten back up because I have something I want to share. Over the last 30 years, I've taken people of all ages and abilities on adventures of all types, from big international expeditions to small, local, close-to-home adventures. I've witnessed the same thing time and time again. And that is the transformational power of adventure. I've seen it turn the timid into the confident, the addicted into the recovering, and the lost into the intentionally wandering. As a force for change, adventure is powerful like few others. Driven by my curiosity to understand what I was witnessing, I've spent the last decade researching multiple scientific disciplines, even setting up a research collaborative and a conference series, all with the shared mission to understand better why adventure is so good for us. What I've discovered is that there is a large evidence base that supports this idea that adventure is good for our well-being. More than 200 scientific studies have investigated the psychological impact of adventuring. Now, this curiosity started for me more than 20 years ago. I was standing in the rain in London outside the Royal Geographical Society. It's a huge, imposing red brick building and the heart of exploration in Britain. The previous summer, I had led a youth development expedition to the Amazon. We were reconvening 6 months later to share our findings. I was just 26 years old, the youngest chief leader the British Exploring Society had ever had. I had nearly a decade's worth of expedition experience at that point, but I still had a lot to learn. As I stood in the rain, a woman approached me and she said, "What have you done to my daughter?" I panicked. A whole host of scenarios running through my head. Was this the girl who'd been bitten by the bat? Was it one of the unlucky few who'd picked up a jungle parasite along the way? Before I could answer, the woman gave me a giant bear hug, like we were long-lost friends. And she said, "I don't recognise her. She's so different. I can't thank you enough." And then it clicked when she told me her daughter's name was Alice. Alice was one of my biggest challenges of the expedition. A timid 17-year-old with low self-esteem and a history of self-harm. Alice struggled mentally, socially, and academically. In that first week of the expedition, whilst everyone else seemed to form fast friendships, she remained distant. So I gave her a job. An important job to arrange the group kit for her team of 12. Now, I didn't want her to panic. So at first, I helped her. But bit by bit, Alice owned the role. I could see she was smart and capable, and eventually, so could she. Several weeks later, I visited Alice's group again. They'd been moving around the jungle, carrying out biological surveys. I was delighted to see that Alice had stepped up and volunteered to be the camp manager for her team. The timid 17-year-old I'd met at the airport was now striding around her jungle camp. The transformation was undeniable. But I'd never considered just how deep this transformation might be or how long it might last. And yet there I was, 6 months later, hugging her mum in the rain, as she told me that Alice now helped out at home, was doing better at school, even had a few new friends. For all my memories of that expedition, it's that one moment, standing in the rain in London, that is so seared into my memory, because it's the moment that I fully came to believe in the power of adventure to change people's lives for the better. Now, 3 decades of leading adventure groups, I also understand that there are a lot of people out there, plenty of people out there, that think that adventure is not for them. Well, I think we simply need to rebrand the word and reclaim it. Adventure is not just for the elite. It's not just for the bearded men on mountain summits, although they are welcome to the benefits of adventure too. Adventuring is an essential part of being human. It's one of the best ways to feel most alive. And that's why I think it's so good for us. And that's why I think it's so important that we recognise that it is actually accessible to everyone. The way I define adventure is that it is a chosen challenge. So you don't have to go to the Amazon or climb Everest to get the benefits. I have witnessed powerful transformations when people have, I've witnessed powerful transformations begin when people have camped under the stars close to home, even in their own garden, or summited their local hills, no mountains needed, or learnt to kayak or cycle or surf the first time. The adventure that changed the course of my life wasn't one of these big international expeditions, but it was one of these small, close-to-home adventures, or relatively small and closer-to-home adventures. It was actually during 3 days of getting lost in a national park in Britain. People seem to love it when I tell them that I get lost too. Ooh, you're an explorer. You couldn't find the venue today. I admit it. I used Google Maps to get here today, just like everyone else. But as a teenager, I really was lost. I didn't think I was good enough. Too fat, too ugly, too stupid, too unpopular to ever amount to anything. My low self-esteem was the result of episodes of violent abuse in my childhood. But a timid 16-year-old me caught a break. I heard about a youth development programme called the Duke of Edinburgh Award. It's a varied programme with different elements, but the element of adventurous challenge really attracted me, and I signed up with 3 friends. Owen, Rachel, Sian and myself, teenagers more used to the city, carried overloaded backpacks around the Brecon Beacons National Park in Wales. Camping, hiking, and getting lost a lot. The micro-expedition was designed to foster autonomy in our small team, but it did so much more than that for me. I loved it. I remember charging ahead, running back to help others. I found a confidence to fully engage, to take decisions, to even take the lead at times. My friend Owen told me just in the last few years, just recently, she reminded me what she had witnessed. She said, it was like a light came on in you. And I'm not the only one who's found their light through adventuring. A recent study of 12 to 16-year-olds found that those that participated in an overnight adventure camp, just 2 days and 1 night, had higher self-esteem, higher resilience, and fewer markers for depression 6 months later. Another recent study of young people backs this up, again showing that adventure residential trips have a lasting impact on independence and self-confidence. As a teenager, I had gotten into a pattern of writing off any small successes as being down to luck or the work of others, thereby missing the opportunity, or missing every opportunity to build my self-esteem. But there is something undeniable about summiting a mountain or a hill, about nailing your first Eskimo roll in a kayak or catching a wave with a surfboard. No matter how much help you're given by guides or instructors, the mental and the physical commitment needed to engage in adventurous activity is unavoidable. And that's why I think that it makes the feeling of true achievement, it becomes undeniable. It is a feeling that cannot be given or taken away. Thriving on my first micro-expedition in the British countryside, I now had evidence that I could do more than I'd ever believed before. This belief is probably the most important gift that you can give to any young person as they set off on their journey into adulthood. Because once I believed I was capable of a bright future, instead of writing off opportunities as out of my reach, I could start to dream. I could start to think about what I wanted from my life. I deserved to have aspirations. Everyone deserves to. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I've come today. We have a golden opportunity, an opportunity to build our well-being and the well-being of our children and our young people. An opportunity that is currently misunderstood and underused, but actually an opportunity that is well evidenced and highly effective. And that is why I'm here, because it's not only accessible to everyone, but when I think of that day, when I was stood in the rain hugging Alice's mum, I could feel the newfound hope she had for her daughter. And it reminded me of the hope that I had found for myself 10 years before. Ultimately, adventure made me feel better about who I was and about what my life could look like. That changed everything, as it did for Alice, and as it can for you, and for those that you love. Thank you.